दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। कटाक्षकिरणाचान्दनमन्मोहाब्धये नमः।
कटाक्षकिरणाचान्दनमन्मोहाब्धये नमः।
अनन्तानन्दकृष्णाय
अनन्तानन्द
जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये
कृष्णाय
अनन्तानन्दकृष्णाय
जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये
जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये।
We were doing the 17th verse, right?
Yes, Swami.
तथाप्याभाति कोऽप्येषः विचाराभावजीवनः अवश्यायश्चिदाकाशे विचाराकाशे उदय काश उदय avadihi until sunrise takes place. Where did we stop reading?
Page 179, Swamiji. We have to start from the last paragraph.
Last paragraph. Who is going to read? Again, I would recommend you read the verse first and then we'll continue from this point. Who will read? No takers for reading?
I will do it if no takers are there. If no new takers are there.
Please do try and read. If you have, don't hesitate because it looks like you're reading. You're all, it's a small group. The more you read, the more comfortable you'll become with it. Okay, so nobody else is volunteering? Ratnamji?
Yes, Swamiji. तथाप्याभाति के कोऽप्येषः विचाराभावजीवनः अवश्यायश्चिदाकाशे विचाराक्रोधयावधिः. Even though you may hear...
Essentially, I think what all this discussion earlier was the importance of vichara. But vichara is not a pramana. You need a pramana, but you also need to do vichara. Vichara primarily to remove any obstacles in the way. Obstacles are plenty. Obstacles that we have created ourselves, obstacles circumstances have created around us, obstacles others create for us, obstacles on which we have no control. Therefore, we say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. All these obstacles, may they be removed. Certainly, we ask for Ishvara's grace to remove these obstacles, but we have to make the effort. And we are the only ones who have the capacity to think, to do vichara, and to eliminate those that will not stand vichara, that will be proved to be incorrect on vichara. I think that's more or less what we covered in this section so far. Yeah, we'll continue from there.
Even though you may hear Tattvamasi, but vichara is to be done for the fog, the doubts to go away. It is not merely the sunrise which is talked about here, but Jnana Udayam, which implies Mananadi also. When Vichara Arka Udayaha takes place, then alone the Avadhi, the end of this Avashyayaha, until the Vichara is proper, adequate and complete, and the understanding removes the obstructions, the fog does not get cleared. So, if there is Alpa Vichara, if there is Purna Vichara is not done, then the fog continues. If Durvichara is there, it is not a Vichara at all. Therefore, fog will still be there. Vichara has to be complete. Till then, Vichara Abhava will have its force. Vichara Abhava Jivanaha Avashyayaha Ayam Agnanam. It is an avadhi, an end. It has an avadhi, an end. And what is its avadhi? Vichara arka udayaha avadihi. Means when there is avidya nivritti on account of apratibadha gnanam, clear unobstructed knowledge. What does all this mean? This ignorance centered on oneself can be negated, but what you require is not only the pramana which is available, but the understanding of pramana tatparyam. That has to be understood first by Shravana, then by Manana. All the Prameya Gata Pratibandhakas have to be eliminated. As long as these Pratibandhakas are not resolved, there is no Gnana. Like Agni, even though it is capable of lighting up the wood, does not light it up. If the wood is wet, if it has this Pratibandha, it does not light up at all. Therefore, what should you do? You should first create enough Agni to make the wood dry. So the entire heat that is to be given to wood is first expended to make it dry. Then the wood catches fire. That wetness is called pratibandha. Vichara needed for agnana nivritti is samyak vichara.
A very nice example. This
Wood.
beautiful example. It very clearly shows us that unless we do the readiness part, there'll always is problem. In fact, between vichara and pramana, both are required. You see, can you think of people in the world who do not have access to pramana but do deep vichara?
Yeah.
You can look at almost any Western philosopher, any one of them, whether the Kant or any of the others.
Plato.
They all do great vichara, they're great thinkers, but have not had access to pramana. Therefore, their thinking is in the direction with their own experiences, their own analysis, their own conclusion takes them. So those are people with a lot of vichara but no pramana. On the other hand, we have a lot of people who have access to pramana.
But no vichara.
No vichara. Or alpa vichara.
Alpa vichara.
Inadequate
Or
vichara. So there are, and that there are plenty in India. No shortage of such people in Bharat. They have access. Some of them will never reach out to that access for this pramana. Because we've been stuffed, our heads have been stuffed with the concept that anything that is there in our own cultural background is useless. You have to only take what science tells you. You get them to sit down for an argument and you ask them only one question. Tell me one scientific fact, a fact established by science, which has stood the test of time. Not one. Everything is conditional. Biggest example is your laws of Newton, on which the entire Jagat, we do all our new inventions, new discoveries, all are based on that basic three laws. But has it remained unchanged? No. No. So to say that, no, I'm very scientific, I'm very rational, very good. We're not disputing that it's good that you be logical, you be rational, you be scientific. I know our first Prime Minister gave this when I was a child. I used to hear this and be very impressed. We should have a scientific temperament. Yes, you should have a scientific temperament. You should examine everything. But understand what science can give you. Without the pramana, science will always be in a conclusion which is not subject to time, which is subject to time. All of them will vary. Every science you take, medical science, physical science, any science you take, it's the same thing. Today, somebody will come up with a medicine saying that this is the only medicine for this kind of disease, and then somebody will come up with something completely different. This is the only food you should eat. Somebody will come up with completely different. This is the only exercise you do. I don't know if you're aware. For some time there was an exercise called XB5. Anybody heard of that? It is a Canadian Air Force exercise, small booklet. I used to follow it at one time. I swore by it. So half the world swore by that. And then later they said, no, this is not good, don't do this. It all sounds very logical when they present it, it's perfect. But later they say it's not correct. So people who say that, no, I only follow science. Science is based on very simple process. Observation, for which you need the the five senses pramana. Repeated observations, looking for patterns in that. And based on the patterns that you find out, you come up with a hypothesis. That hypothesis you test by taking more controlled data. And then once you've verified it, you present your PhD thesis to a panel of people. They will check with it and say, okay, good. But that doesn't stay. That doesn't stay. You get your degree, a doctorate degree, but where is the permanence of that, of what you found out? It's not there. There was a time when I used to argue like this because I started my whole career as a scientist. I was doing this, designing experiments, collecting data, trying to analyze the data to find patterns and then trying to do controlled experiments. All that I've also done. That time I used to swear, this is the way it is. But it's not true. Yes, Divyansh.
Swamiji, I think like we can also add that how the Shastra Praman is talking about something that is beyond what science talks
Absolutely
about.
correct. Absolutely correct. If you want to depend on your five senses and then everything following that, this knowledge of I will not come there because it's not available. That data cannot be collected by the five senses. So right there in the early beginning itself, you fall flat. So this vichara business is so important, but somebody mentioned last class, Shastra Anukula Tarka. You have to have Tarka, but you cannot do it as a standalone.
Because like I added this because other like theistic religion also says that the science keeps on changing their stand, but let's say Quran is like a final word, so it's fixed, right? So it because it's not changing, that means it is the truth. So they may make like arguments like that.
To agree that something is a pramana, there are some agreed tests.
Yes.
And you will find that when you apply those tests, none of those will stand the test. I know, I have gone through these arguments myself. And I said, why? Some people argue, why can't psychology be the pramana? Psychology is about an object, mind. Like I told you, I started life as a researcher. I don't have any of them now with me, but I have over 30 research publications internationally and nationally. I did all that. But I was not impressed later. Okay, shall we continue? Unless somebody has an observation on this vichara business.
Swamiji?
I think Jagdishanji has a doctorate as well. You would have gone through this whole process yourself, right?
Anand has some query.
Yeah. Yes, Anand.
Swami, just to add a point here, not a question, but I believe this vichara is not limited only after studying Shastra. This vichara should be always there in our life. So even before Shastra study and after Shastra study. So before Shastra study, if we do inquiry into our fundamental problems in life, then we will come to a point where we understand that this vichara is what is leading towards the ultimate problem of why there is sorrow in my life, or what is the cause of my sorrow, and that will lead to the Shastra study. And with the help of Shastra, then we again inquire, or we again do continue this vichara to understand what actually Shastra says. So Shastra simply gives me the solution. Shastra gives me the solution, but that solution, how does it apply to me personally, is only through this vichara that I own that knowledge of.
Very, very, very well put, Anand. He
Swami,
gave
here
one
also,
example. He gave one example of saying, why is there sorrow? Is a question that a lot of us ask, but we don't do adequate vichara on that. How many of us have wondered why is the world so full of sorrow? Why are there wars? Why are there tsunamis and floods and so on? I'm sure every one of us has at some point or the other questioned this, but didn't take the vichara far enough. At some point in time, we gave up with too much pressure of the Vyavaharika life. I don't have now the energy to follow this up. But we didn't do enough vichara.
and the vichara also has to be into the Vedantic portion of the vichara, because otherwise the Karma Kanda has a lot of
What
vichara.
Anand is trying to say is very good. Before I even enter Vedanta, why do I enter Vedanta? Parikshalokan karmachatan brahmana. That is the point. I want to know some answers because I've done some vichara. And that vichara, you can in fact think of other things also in the vichara. One example I love is that, you know somebody who's really, really a good person. He's never done any harm to anybody as far as you know. But he suffers grief, suffers sorrow. And you ask yourself, why is it happening to him? What did he do?
So, Swamiji, same thing
Sometimes-
happened. Like yesterday, I was having a discussion in one group, but it is hardcore Dvaitas, okay? They are all doing a lot of Parayana, hardcore Parayana. They do this Parayana is over, then they go to the next Parayana. So, having a general discussion with them, where I was telling, just giving them the seeds of Vedanta. I was telling them, when you don't have a solution, when you will come to Vedanta only when you start questioning why, after doing so much, why it is not happening to me. Otherwise, you will not understand Vedanta. I told them, like, you do a lot of whatever your guru has told you, do this archana, you do that puja, you do this kumbhabhishekam, you do this kumkumabhishekam, and then you come to end of the day, you find that it does not yield any result. Then you start questioning. Till you have that vichara, then you will have Vedanta has a solution to those questions. Otherwise, you will not understand Vedanta.
And Vedanta says it's available to you here and now.
Yeah, here and now.
You don't have to wait for next Janma to get the answer. It is here, right? Available right here. See, the other thing is these questions that we're talking about before entering into this sadhana. You ask yourself, what is the purpose of life? What am I doing? I'm earning a lot of money. I'm doing this. I'm raising a family. I'm taking a vacation, all that. But then, is that the purpose? Then you start examining yourself. Is that my purpose? Even that examination requires a lot of vichara. Otherwise, you go to the office at 9, finish your work, try and meet your targets, come back, watch TV, raise a family, go on a vacation. How many people live like that? No vichara. No vichara at all. But what point Anand is making a very valid point. Vichara is the starting point even to start the sadhana.
Yes.
And once the sadhana starts and you get these inputs from the pramana, then vichara takes a different direction altogether. But then vichara is also required. Yes, Divyansh.
Swamiji?
Yeah, Anand.
Sorry, Swami. Just a small point. So generally, our vichara is limited to the topical problems. So if I have headache, like I think about why I had headache, and then I think about, okay, yesterday I did something, I didn't sleep well, therefore I have headache, and tomorrow I have some other problem, and I think about, like, why do I have that problem, and I find a solution. But only when we take that inquiry to the next level, that the fundamental question of why am I subject to any sorrow at all?
When I get repeated headaches, backaches, etc., over a period of time, I've been suffering this over the last many years. What is happening? Then you will say, oh no, your body is undergoing changes, you're going old, all that you can say. But the fact is, you're looking at saying, why should I or any human be subject to this? Then you start doing it, Bichara. Very good. Yes, Divyansh, you had some point.
Swamiji, I noted that Swamiji is saying that mere like Shravanam is not enough. So I remember Swami Tadatmananda says that like it's not a linear path. So it's both like it's like kind of a deadlock. So if I want to have, let's say, removal of my raga dveshas, I need to start having spiritual practices. But if I have a strong hold of raga dveshas, I will not be able to start
You know,
having spiritual practices. So we have to keep doing both, like karma yoga as well as jnana at the same time.
True. It is typical catch-22. Come in. Catch-22. You have read the book, Joseph Heller? Yeah.
Shall I go ahead,
Okay.
Swamiji?
Shall we continue?
Yeah. That ahankara nivritti also we have to take up now, because ahankara continues to be there, and for him it means that samsara continues. Questioner: how agnana nivritya ahankarasya nivrittihi?
Ajnana nivritya.
Agnana
By Ajnana
nivritya
nivritti,
ahankarasya
how does
nivritti.
ahankara nivritti take place? Ahankara nivritti cannot take place as long as the sharira is there. But something happens to the ahankara, which I'm sure Swamiji will cover. Swamiji's favorite word is enlightened ahankara. We will see how he says that. Yeah.
According to you, ahankara continues to be there even after agnana nivritti, because it is a sopadika brahma. Therefore, samsara will continue. Swamiji.
Sopadika Brahma is
With
Upadikena
upadika.
Upadika Saha Brahman.
Let Swamiji, let ahankara have samsara. Are you the ahankara? That is all that I want to know. Questioner: no, I am not the ahankara. Swamiji: that is all we require. If you are an samsari, poor ahankara is not going to have samsaritvam. Ahankara does not care to have samsara because he himself is mithya and he is not holding on to samsara or anything. You are holding on to it. That is a binding factor. That is why grantihi.
What is Grantihi?
The knot, the Hridaya
Knot.
Granthi. The
Not.
knot.
Hridaya Grantihi, correct.
The binding factor is asya guna sangaha sad asad yoni janmasu. There is some Bhagavad Gita. Purushaha prakristho hi bhukte prakritijan gunan. Karanam guna sangosya sadasad yoni janmasu. Therefore, this agnana is what really binds the atma. Asamsari atma to samsara. Asamsari atma. Ahankara does not have an agenda for you. It is just Ishvara Shrishti. In the Ishvara Shrishti, there must be an Ahankara to continue your life. For any Vyavahara, there should be a Karta. Only for that purpose, we have got a Karta. Karta of any Kriya is that Ahankara alone. This is only a grammatical Ahankara or some kind of Vyavaharika Ahankara. There is no Paramarthmika Ahankara. So, this Ahankara, if it has samsara, let it have samsara. Questioner: then that means I continue to be a samsari. Swamiji: that means you are taking the Ahankara as yourself. Questioner: no, I am not the Ahankara. Then let the Ahankara be there. Why do you bother about it? Questioner: because Ahankara bothers me. Swamiji: whom does it bother? Which you? Questioner: me, Sakshi Atma. Oh, Swamiji, for Sakshi Atma, there is no connection. Sakshi Atma is not bothered. Sakshi Atma will support the Ahankara being unaffected. It lends bonal structure to the ahankara so that the ahankara can be there. Like the pot enjoys the reality of clay, this ahankara enjoys the reality of the sadatma alone. How it is going to affect atma? Ahankara is atma, but atma is not the ahankara. Ahankara is atma, but atma is not the ahankara. This aspect inherent to the relation between satyam and mithya must be clear. Otherwise, it is a problem. B is A is not B. That must be very clear. That is
You
why
need to remember, no? Body is not Atma.
atma is not body.
No.
Body is
Body is the
Atma, Atma
Atma.
is not
Body
body.
is the
Atma is
Atma.
not. Body is atma,
Atma
atma
is
is
not
not
it.
body. That is why the Pratyak Atma is to be recognized as Satyam Gnanam Anantam Brahma. There alone is the freedom. Then freedom is not affected by Mithya. And therefore, this avidya alone has to go. This avidya is the main strand in this granthi called samsara granthi. When samyak vichara is there, vichara arka udaya is there, then there is agnana nivritti. Agnana nivritti means sakshi is recognized as me, and tasmin the drishte
Paravare.
paravare vidhyate
Vidyate
hridaya
hridaya
grantihi.
grantihi.
Therefore, छिद्यन्ते सर्व समस्या समस्ययः
Samshaya.
संशयः
Kriyante.
क्षीयन्ते चस्य कर्मणि. Therefore,
Karmani.
it is all
Karmani.
karmani.
This
Sorry,
is
it
from
is
the
it's all
Mundaka
okay.
Upanishad. So there's footnote also.
Yeah, Mundaka. विद्यते हृदय ग्रंथिः छिद्यन्ते सर्व संशयः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि तस्मिन् दृष्टे परवारे
Paravare.
परावरे परावरे.
That drishti, that's only thing. Your change of drishti is all that is required. Once that paradrishti is there, then everything follows. Granthi is gone, karma is gone, everything is gone. Samshayas are gone.
Well, you're talking about dissolution of all the karma. Sanchita karma mota is gone.
Everything is gone. Swami used to say, Sanchita karma, prarabdha karma, agame karma, everything goes. Like Mr. Abdullah marries 3 women and then he dies. All 3 become widows simultaneously. Yeah, Divyansh has a point.
Swamiji, you said that body is Atma, but Atma is not the body.
Right.
But some people sometimes say that there is no body, there is only Atma.
True. The body that you perceive, because you're still in this transactional jagat, anything in this transactional jagat is mithya.
True.
Correct. It is, we don't call it tucha, we don't call it non-existent because we start with that
Mithya.
assumption that it is there and that we're experiencing that, we're perceiving that. But as you begin to understand this point you're making, that there is only Ekameva Advitya Brahman, then there is nothing else. Then whether the body or mind or senses or the mountain or anything, nothing is really existing. It is as though existing in a dream world, which is probably the next verse. Next couple of verses, I'm going to talk about that. As though exist. So in a waking world, the floods you saw in the dream don't exist. But in the dream, it still exists. It is still real. So it depends upon which way you look at it, that's all.
True. But like sometimes it sounds very harsh actually, because we can say that like, right, ki be like what is that? Paramartha and Vyavaharika both can exist simultaneously, right? We can appreciate
Yes. See, the
Paramarthika and
problem is
Vyavaharika.
this. Although we keep talking about Paramarthika perspective, point of view, how are you ever going to understand this? How are you ever going to understand when you're in dream? When you're in the dream, you're also in the dream and you're experiencing everything in the dream. When somebody says this is only a dream, go to the waking world perspective. Can you go? You can't.
Right.
So it has to be only cognitively recognized that it is possible. You go there only after you have gone out of the dream state. We come to the waking state. Here, the equivalent, more or less, is when knowledge arises. Vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam pashyannatmani mayaya bahirivodhitam yatha nidraya. Nidra is in dream. Pragvat prabodha samaye yapratibhignayate. Swatmanam. Swatmanam eva advayam. So equivalent of that, more or less. So is there a pot? There is a pot when you look at it only from the utility point of view. But looked at it from the clay perspective, there's no pot. Same thing here.
But like, let's say if there is Jnana Udaya, so with the enlightened ego, like I know that Jnani is not doing anything, right? Atma does not do anything. But for the Vyavahara perspective, he will still like continue to like
Correct.
follow the
Correct.
dharma, etc.
You're right. You're right. He will continue. But let me tell you, if he is genuinely a jnani who's understood, he will never say, I know. Because then there are a lot of other questions come up. If
Yes.
he's a jnani, then he has no duties to perform. He has no duties to perform. He is like Bhagavan. Right? Bhagavan, he is Bhagavan. He has nothing to do. Even though the Sharira exists in this Vyavaharak samsara, Sharira exists, mind exists, senses exist, thoughts exist, everything exists. But he has dissociated himself completely as the Atma. Then, sometimes, I don't know, you occasionally come across a sadhu who is probably an enlightened person, who the world looks at saying, this guy must be mad.
I think the famous is that Toppi Ammal in Tiruvannamalai. I mean, I don't know if you have heard of
I also know
her.
there's one other Swami, he's called Pittukuli Swami. Pittukuli means mad. Because to us, looking at it from a completely different perspective. Whereas he has seen it completely. So to him, clothes don't matter, Sharira doesn't matter, nothing matters. The only reason he will do anything in this Jagat is for Loka Sangrahartam. Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita also, no? In 2-3 places he says, at least one immediately comes to my mind, Chaturvida, Chaturvanyam Maya Shishtam,
Gunakarma
Gunakarma
Vibhagashaha.
I am the creator of that, but I do nothing. He said, remember? Chaturvanyam Maya Shishtam, Gunakarma Vibhagashaha.
We are also doing this current verse that is also talking about the
Tasya
Jnani
kartaram
doing
bhivam.
lok
So you need to
sangraha.
only understand that. See, because of this problem of two different orders of reality, you do have difficulty sometimes trying to understand both at the same time. Chaturvanyam Shishtam, Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. Tasya kartaram imam, Vidhi kartaram avyayam. Vidyakamata. I am the karta of all of that, but know me to be a karta. Same thing in the 4th chapter. How do you understand akarta, vikarta, etc., etc.? He who sees akarta and karta and akarta is a jnani. So we only have to transit our perspective. I like this example of the lady going to buy a gold chain and the bullion trader. When she buys it, she buys a form, name, and utility. But later she wants to sell it. The trader simply says, this is 7.5 grams of gold. He doesn't want to look at anything else. So when she bought it, she bought same amount of gold, plus making charges, plus wastage, etc., plus whatever else. But when she wants to sell it, he only takes the gold. Perspective difference.
But Swamiji, like the madman thing, I think that heavily depends on the prarabdha, right? Because there may be many jnanis who are very functional. Like from outside, we can say that they are very functional.
No, no, here it's not all madmen are not jnanis, but jnanis
Nahi,
could
And
be a
all
madman.
jnanis are not madmen.
not all jnanis are madmen. Like
But they look, their way of living, their behavior,
that is different. Yeah.
looks
For us, it
to
looks
people
like mad.
within the samsara as being illogical.
Yes.
Why? When I went to study with Swamiji, I've said this to you before earlier,
Yes.
I was running a consulting company. And slowly, one by one, I told all my clients, I'm not available anymore. And the last of the major client I had, when I told him that, he said, Ganesh, tu pagal hai kya? I said, yes, a little bit pagal to hu. Because from his perspective, it is ridiculous. You're making so much money, you're having a great time, willing to pay you so much. You want to drop all that and go sit somewhere in a corner in an ashram. Perspectives.
My parents also think that.
I know. Your parents are pushing you to say, get married. Because that's samsara.
But Swamiji, when we talked about karma being resolved for Gnani, his prarabdha continues, isn't it? Till he.
Prarabdha will give him a inclination. He doesn't have to do anything. Prarabdha, in fact, if you remember, Shankaracharya said there is no prarabdha also.
The entire thing is mithya. If you put lock, stock, and
That
barrel,
is
everything is
all part
mithya.
of the Mithya Jagat only. But certain inclinations that are there as part of your karma tends to direct one to certain. Well, Swamiji he did some big projects. Aim for Seva, Acharya Sabha, which meeting I went to the last month. He himself told us, I was so unsure of this because I felt I should not do all this. I have very clear, but I felt there is so much requirement in this to save, to protect the dharma. So he said I had to do it. To help these people not get converted, therefore aim for seva, to try and preserve our Sanatan Dharma, therefore Acharya Sabha, all that he did. But he said, I was never very sure. Yeah.
Swamiji?
But Swamiji, one more question.
Yeah.
So if someone says like when say Swamiji is like running all these like initiatives, and if another Swami comes to him and says, what are you talking about? Like there are no people, it's only Brahman. So would they get like mad? Like, come on, I mean.
But said, no, he's himself not very sure, but he felt that if dharma has to be preserved, then some action has to be taken, and he had the capacity to take the action. He filed a court case, for example, for temples to be returned back to the society. Now, for a sadhu, it is not necessary to go to do a court case.
Yeah.
But such situation is such that it makes sense. I didn't want to open a trust at all. 10 years I resisted. I said, no trust, I don't want to get into that. But situation is such that how do you run anything? Okay, I want to help people by teaching them. But it's not happening. We wanted between Gitamana, we wanted to help children stay within the dharma. needed a lot of work, needed a lot of resources. I would say we were very lucky also that we had a whole lot of people, youngsters who came to help. We were not really in a position to do all that. But how much can you do? What can you do? What you want to do? Depends upon your own. The word for that is samskara. Okay, shall we continue?
Yeah. Avidya is kalpita and it is the karanam for the ahankara. Being kalpita, it is not going to affect the satya vastu. Kalpitatvam also means that when vichara is there, avidya goes away. You have to make a note. Vichara is not a pramana. It accounts for the removal of the pratibandhakas, obstructions. When all the obstructions are removed, pramana takes care of everything. There is no question. Pramana has done the job already. When the pramana has done the job, all obstructions are removed by mananam, nididhyasana, and whatever else that is required. Obstruction removal alone is required, and that is accomplished. Atma already being an asamsari and avidya nivritti being there, brahmaiva aham ataha siddham sachidananda lakshanam.
Very beautiful.
Verse 18.
Any observations on this verse? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next verse. Anyone, any input?
I think it's like talking about like mainly the vichara. Like only pramana is not sufficient. Like you have
Pramana
to
vichara is required.
put efforts by yourself. Only a guru cannot.
Absolutely, you have to put in effort. The verse itself very beautifully takes this drishtanta, darshanta of saying that jnanam is there and it can go away on sunrise. It's like a fog going away in sunrise. So two are nicely interplays there. Like that, ajnanam can also go away on jnanam arising. Jnana utpatti, arka. Jnana, arka, he mixes both of them in the same compound.
But I think Swamiji, like this is mostly for I think for a Sankhya yogi because we have raga dveshas as well. So I think that is not covered because that is also one of the pratibandhakas, right?
Each verse you will notice tries to address an aspect for mananam. So you will see, for example, further on, you're going to talk about mananam in the form of giving an example of dream world and real world to make us think, to make us question and think. That's all he's trying to do. The assumption is that students who are studying this text already have a lot of exposure. And therefore, they're ready to do the manana. Yeah, shall we continue?
Verse 18. Questioner. So beginning with avidya, everything else that is there is born of avidya. And according to you, it is kalpita. When avidya is kalpita, then everything born of it is also kalpita? Swamiji, yes, everything, karaka bedhas, etc. are all kalpita.
You all
Questioner.
know what is karaka beda?
Karta, karma, karana.
Karta, karma, kriya.
The karakas are in any action, there is a kriya, and then the karta who's doing the kriya, and then all the other karakas. The instrument, where it is done from, who it is done
How
for,
it is done.
and where it is done, etc. All that can become karaka. In any action, there will be at least one karaka, which is the karta, but there can also be all the other karakas present. Understanding is that all karakas are nothing but Brahman. The karaka bedha is kalpita. Karaka bedha is mithya. Therefore, Brahmarpanam Brahma Havihi.
Brahmagnau Brahmana Hotam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhinaha.
All karakas are covered. Everything is only Brahman. That's Karaka Bheda.
Questioner, if all the Karaka Vedas are Kalpita, then you have to say they are all Mithya? Swamiji, yes, they are all Mithya. Questioner, if they are all Mithya, Kalpita, they are not real. If they are not real, I see a problem here because by the same argument, Moksha Shastra is also unreal. Moksha Shastra is unreal and Karma Shastra is also unreal. And the Karma Shastra is not an ordinary Shastra, it is also Pramana. There is such thing as Niyogi, then
Yoga.
Niyoga. There is such thing as Niyoga, then Niyoga Vishaya, like a yaga is there, then a karta, a doer is there, the yaga, the ritual is there, Sarvagadi Phalam, Swargadi Phalam
Sargadi
also is
Bhalam.
there. There is Niyoga Phalam. All these are real. The Shastra looks at the whole thing as real alone. Then it enjoins you to do this karma and not to do that karma. If you say Karma Shastra is also unreal, Karma Kanda becomes Mithya. Your moksha is also Mithya because you say all avidya karyas are Kalpita. Moksha is for whom? For Baddha. But according to you, bondage is also Kalpita. If your bondage is Kalpita, your moksha is also Kalpita. Oh, very wonderful, na Swamiji. Eh?
And it all sounds so logical when
No,
it's
very
presented
logical.
like
It
that.
sounds very correct questioning. Then there cannot be any real moksha at all. When there is no real moksha, you will have mithya moksha. If it is mithya moksha, it means that you had some kind of moksha for some time, some temporary moksha. The fun of moksha as you had for some time, then the fun time is over. Like that fellow who had the fun of having a cup of coffee.
Like some of the people who used to come to Rishikesh in the 60s and 70s. Because Rishikesh, the ganja was available freely growing everywhere, no? So they would get temporary moksha. Get high, don't know where they are, what they are. They think moksha ho kya hai wapas. Yes.
Divyansh has something.
Dimash?
Swamiji, what is Niyoga?
Because in this case, connection, the one following the other.
Yuj.
So you have avidya leading to all of these things, no?
Okay.
Karma, etc., come from avidya.
So Niyoga means connection.
Swamiji, interestingly, I just remembered in Nirvana Shatkam, there is also like even Shankaracharya
Moksha.
says in that Nirvana Shatkam, na dharmo na charto na kamo na moksha. So there itself, there is like it is clearly established there is
Is a
no moksha.
Chidananda Rupaham.
Very, very beautiful. Look at this. Look at this. If the bandhana was real, suppose somebody had caught hold of you and tied your hands and legs physically, then freedom from that is real. The problem is this bandhana that we are imagining is not real. There is no bandha. We are only imagining a bandha. Therefore, there is no real moksha from the bandha, and so nobody opening your shackles and freeing you. All that opening shackle, etc., belongs to the Jagat. What we are saying is understand that you are no binding at all. How do you say that? What is bound is either your body or your mind or your senses. They are the ones that can be bound. But when you understand the nature of I, there can be no binding. So this binding I imagine I have, the limitation coming out of that I imagine I have is not my limitation. It is limitation of the adjuncts, of the upadhis. And from that upadhi you can get, for example, I know somebody who, young fellow, and I think I had 1 or 2 children, small children. He decided to pursue this full time, like Yajnavalkya. And he'd made enough money. He went one day to his wife and said, "This is all I have in terms of wealth. Please manage your life. I have nothing to do with this. I'm going seeking moksha." To anybody outside, they'll say, "This guy must be irresponsible. He's mad." Oh, he is. But he's understood what his real purushartha is. That everything else is mithya. I'm not advising everybody to do that, but only saying that people who have understood that, their way of dealing with life, their way of responding to things is very different. Yes, Avinash.
But Swamiji, like what I've heard is that that is prohibited by Shastras, right? You have to get permissions from your dependents, and if they allow, then only you can like take
Yeah,
sannyas.
to take formal sannyasa, it is said that you have to take not dependent from your wife.
हाँ,
Two
मतलब wife
people
or parents.
have to permit you. One is your mother if you're not married. If you're married, from your wife.
Yes.
One has to take permission for taking formal sannyasa. In fact, that is how the story of Shankaracharya goes, no? You remember the story?
Yes.
Yeah, his mother obviously wouldn't give him permission. At 7, 8 years old, he wanted to take sannyasa. So he took advantage of the situation when the crocodile caught hold of his foot. And then the only way he could get free of that, otherwise the crocodile would drag him into the river and that's the end of him. But to get apat sannyasa, his mother agreed. So, what I'm saying is when you look at from the perspective of the Jagat, what this boy did sounds very wrong. Definitely very wrong. He had responsibility, he had children, 1 or 2 children, I don't remember his wife. But he looked at it from the perspective that from which he looked at it. He is very clear. So he is following on the footsteps of Yajnavalkya. It is difficult to reconcile the two. You have to take one or the other. You can't take both. That's why in many places, Shankaracharya clearly says that if you are stepping into sadhana, at some point, you have to take full sannyasa. You may or may not take to this vastra, but you have to take to sannyasa as an attitude. In many places, Acharya makes it very clear. Ideally, because that way you have no karma attached to you, no to be done duties attached to you. Because this kind of what we are trying to do here, of doing 3-4 hours of Shravanam every week, and then hopefully whenever one gets time to do mananam, but there are a lot of bandhakas there. Once you step back out of this classroom into your daily life, there are a lot of bandhakas. The mind cannot be free. So with that kind of thing, this is process, a very long process, which at some point of time will push a person into full sannyasa. When and how it happens to individual depends. But sannyasa should also not be taken before one is ready. Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptum ayogataha. Without having completed the process of karma yoga, without having understood the grip of raga dvesha, without having understood how that is shaking you up everywhere and taking you in different directions, taking to sannyasa is not a good thing. That's why to Arjuna, Bhagavan didn't say go take sannyasa. He kept insisting again and again. Bhagavan said, no, go do your karma.
Guru Karma.
Some more time you're able to spend thinking about it, discussing it. That's why satsang becomes very important. Contemplating on it, raising issues and trying to clear up whatever difficulties and messes there in the head, the faster the process is. But there's something each one of us can examine. How much of the ragadvesha of the samsara is still got me in its grip? Each one of us can examine that. Beauty is in the Shastra does not say that you should not have kama. Yeah, kama. Something comes your way, enjoy it. But don't let it distract you from what you want. Don't let it distract you from the clarity of Purushartha, Parama Purushartha. We can talk a lot about this, but each one of us can do some contemplative thinking also in this direction. Okay, we will continue in the next class. Om Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.